Ancient texts frequently describe a catastrophic event that profoundly impacted human history. These accounts often detail the disappearance of entire civilizations. Such widespread narratives suggest a collective memory of immense destruction. The recurring theme indicates a significant, shared historical trauma. This phenomenon points to a past global event of devastating proportions. The Great Flood is conventionally understood as a catastrophic event of immense proportions. This depiction often includes the entire Earth being submerged under endless water. A key element of this understanding is prolonged, continuous rainfall. Concurrently, rising ocean levels are seen as a primary destructive force. Together, these elements describe the overwhelming nature of the flood event. Ancient interpretations challenge the familiar image of a global flood event. These interpretations propose that the flood might not have been solely water-based. This alternative view introduces a disturbing possibility regarding the nature of the event. It suggests a re-evaluation of historical and mythological accounts of the flood. Ancient traditions often utilize symbolic language to convey complex information. This linguistic approach was particularly evident when describing catastrophic events. Early civilizations lacked modern scientific understanding of natural phenomena. Consequently, they interpreted and recorded these events through metaphorical narratives. Symbolic language provided a framework to explain occurrences beyond their empirical grasp. These traditions offer insights into how ancient societies processed and preserved knowledge. In pre-scientific eras, human societies often lacked empirical explanations for natural phenomena. This absence of scientific understanding led to alternative interpretations of powerful forces. People frequently attributed these forces to mystical or divine origins. Natural elements, such as water, were commonly employed as symbols for these incomprehensible powers. Water's immense and often unpredictable nature made it a potent representation. This practice highlights humanity's early attempts to conceptualize and explain the world around them. Ancient writings often present narratives that challenge modern understanding. A critical question arises regarding the nature of these historical accounts. Were these texts intended as literal descriptions of actual events, or do they serve to convey concepts beyond contemporary articulation? The authors may have lacked the linguistic or conceptual tools for precise expression. This distinction is crucial for accurate interpretation of historical and cultural records. Early textual interpretations provide insights into ancient linguistic nuances. The word flood in these texts may not solely denote physical water. It could signify overwhelming destruction or catastrophe in a broader context. This suggests a metaphorical rather than strictly literal interpretation of the term. A broader force is conceptualized as an entity capable of absolute destruction. This force would consume all elements in its path, leaving nothing intact. No physical structures or societal frameworks would endure its impact. The collective memory of any civilization would also be erased. This scenario signifies a complete and irreversible obliteration. It represents a state of total non-existence for all affected entities. The concept of a flood can be interpreted beyond its literal hydrological meaning. It may symbolize a destructive force of significant magnitude or impact. This symbolic interpretation shifts the focus from a physical event to a conceptual one. A central inquiry then emerges, identifying the precise nature of this destructive force. Understanding the symbolic flood requires analyzing its underlying causal elements. The ancient Near East is a region rich in diverse cultures and mythologies. Within this region, numerous distinct cultures share similar flood narratives. These narratives describe catastrophic deluges that reshape the world. The widespread presence of these stories suggests a common origin. Alternatively, they may stem from a shared catastrophic experience among these cultures. Comparative mythology studies these parallels to understand cultural connections and historical events. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of humanity's most ancient written texts, originating from Mesopotamia. It contains a narrative describing a cataclysmic destruction event, often interpreted as a great flood. This ancient account predates and shares thematic similarities with later biblical flood narratives. However, the specific details and theological interpretations within Gilgamesh diverge significantly. These differences highlight distinct cultural and religious perspectives on universal destruction myths. In scientific inquiry, researchers often encounter data discrepancies or anomalies. Traditionally, these deviations might be dismissed as errors in measurement or observation. However, a new hypothesis proposes an alternative interpretation for these inconsistencies. This perspective suggests that such discrepancies are not mere errors, but significant clues. These clues indicate a more intricate and complex original event or phenomenon. Therefore, analyzing these anomalies could lead to a deeper understanding of the underlying processes. The initial catastrophe was likely far more intricate than previously understood. Various contributing factors suggest a complex interplay of events. Single, simplified explanations fail to capture the full scope of the disaster. Differences in observed phenomena indicate multiple causal pathways. A comprehensive understanding requires acknowledging this inherent complexity. Early Hebrew texts reveal a unique characteristic of their language. Words often possessed layered meanings, allowing for multiple interpretations. A single term could simultaneously denote concepts like water, chaos, or destruction. This linguistic feature also extended to representing divine judgment. Linguistic ambiguity refers to words, phrases, or sentences with multiple possible interpretations. This characteristic introduces a fascinating possibility in communication and understanding. It implies a richness of meaning that might not be immediately apparent. Such depth can be inherent in the original expression or arise through context. Ambiguity can lead to layers of interpretation, enriching the message. However, it also poses challenges, as original meanings can be lost in translation or reinterpretation. The theory addresses how complex concepts evolve through generations. It suggests that original concepts often possess layered meanings. Subsequent generations may interpret these meanings too literally. This literal interpretation can lead to a simplification of the original complex concept. Such simplification potentially distorts the initial depth and nuance of the idea. Ancient observers often encountered environmental phenomena beyond their immediate understanding. These events could be massive in scale, impacting daily life and belief systems. One such phenomenon involved powerful storms, bringing intense weather conditions. Simultaneously, volcanic eruptions could release vast amounts of ash into the atmosphere. The combination of massive storms and volcanic ash would have created unprecedented spectacles. Such occurrences likely influenced myths, legends, and early interpretations of the natural world. Atmospheric disturbances represent significant alterations to Earth's air quality and visibility. These events can manifest in various forms, impacting environmental conditions. One potential manifestation is the occurrence of darkened skies, reducing natural light. Another severe consequence could be toxic rainfall, posing risks to ecosystems and life. Such disturbances fundamentally alter the composition and properties of the air itself. These changes can have profound and lasting effects on planetary habitability. Ancient peoples faced numerous devastating natural phenomena. These events often occurred in rapid succession or simultaneously. Such a confluence of disasters created an overwhelming experience. They lacked modern scientific understanding to differentiate these events. Therefore, they perceive these multiple phenomena as a single unified catastrophe. This collective event was often termed broadly as a flood. Some researchers connect ancient flood narratives to geological theories. These theories propose explanations for the widespread flood myths across cultures. One hypothesis suggests ancient civilizations experienced significant volcanic eruptions. Volcanic activity could have led to tsunamis or widespread environmental devastation. Another theory points to sudden and dramatic climate shifts as a cause. Rapid glacial melt or intense rainfall could have resulted in catastrophic flooding events. Cosmic impact theories propose that extraterrestrial events significantly shaped Earth's history. These theories often involve meteor impacts, where large celestial bodies collide with our planet. Such impacts can instantaneously reshape entire regions of Earth's surface. The energy released during these collisions leads to widespread devastation. These catastrophic events are considered potential drivers of major geological and biological changes. Ancient observers often lacked scientific explanations for large-scale natural phenomena. Events of significant magnitude, such as widespread disasters, would have appeared inexplicable. These occurrences were frequently interpreted through a supernatural lens. Such interpretations reinforce the belief in a divinely orchestrated catastrophe. This perspective attributed natural events to the direct intervention of deities or cosmic forces. Across diverse global cultures, a recurring theme emerges in ancient narratives. Many societies share strikingly similar stories of cataclysmic destruction. These accounts often describe widespread devastation, such as floods or celestial events. The consistency of these narratives raises questions about their origins and historical basis. This phenomenon suggests a shared human experience or cultural transmission of these events. Flood-like destruction narratives are prevalent across diverse ancient cultures. These narratives appear consistently in regions like Mesopotamia and ancient India. Similar stories are found in the Americas, spanning various indigenous civilizations. Asia also features numerous accounts of catastrophic floods in its historical records. Despite vast cultural differences, the theme of global deluge remains a common thread. Across diverse cultures, narratives of transformative destructive events are prevalent. Each culture presents a unique interpretation and recounting of these occurrences. Despite cultural variations, the fundamental concept of such an event remains consistent. This consistency highlights a shared human understanding of profound, world-altering catastrophes. Historians often observe widespread consistency in ancient narratives across diverse cultures. This consistency suggests a common origin for certain stories and beliefs. The shared memory hypothesis proposes an explanation for these parallels. It posits that humanity shares a collective memory of a significant past event. This event is theorized to be a global or near-global catastrophe experienced in antiquity. Such an event could have profoundly impacted early human societies, shaping their collective memory. Catastrophic events often serve as foundational elements for cultural narratives. Such events are initially preserved through oral traditions, being remembered and retold. Across generations, these accounts are reshaped, adapting to new contexts and interpretations. This iterative process gradually transforms historical occurrences into myths and legends. Ultimately, these narratives can evolve further, becoming codified as sacred scripture. Information loss is a common phenomenon in data transmission and transformation processes. During transmission, data can be altered or omitted due to various factors. This can occur inadvertently, through technical errors or system limitations. Alternatively, information may be intentionally obscured or filtered. Such intentional loss can be for privacy, security, or strategic reasons. Consequently, certain aspects of the original event or data may be lost or hidden. Theories propose that ancient knowledge underwent deliberate simplification. This process involved early storytellers and knowledge transmitters. Complex events or concepts were intentionally reduced. The goal was to transform them into more understandable narratives. This simplification facilitated easier transmission and comprehension. It ensured the accessibility of information to a wider audience. Simplification of narratives facilitates their transmission across generations. This process ensures the survival of stories through time. Although some original details may be lost, the core narrative endures. The utility of simplification lies in its ability to preserve cultural knowledge. Ancient writers often encountered phenomena that defied immediate understanding. To bridge this knowledge gap, they employed explanatory analogies. These analogies connected the unknown to concepts that were already familiar. For instance, complex ideas were often compared to the properties of water. This method provided a tangible context for abstract or new observations. Such comparisons made difficult concepts more accessible and understandable to their audience. Ancient texts often contain descriptions that pose challenges for literal interpretation. When taken literally, some passages depict events that appear unusual or extraordinary. These descriptions suggest movements or phenomena beyond simple meteorological events like rainfall. They imply destruction or forces too intense to be attributed solely to water or natural processes. Such literal readings highlight the need for careful analysis and contextual understanding of historical records. Textual anomalies often indicate deeper narrative complexities. These anomalies suggest events occurring beneath the surface of the explicit narrative. They imply a layered structure of events, not immediately apparent. Such indicators point to a more intricate, underlying causal chain or context. The phrase, "windows of heaven opened," is often interpreted in various contexts. Traditionally, it signifies a period of abundant rainfall or divine blessing. However, scholarly interpretations suggest a deeper, more complex meaning. Some scholars propose it could imply a significant atmospheric rupture. This rupture might involve phenomena beyond typical weather patterns. Another interpretation points to the possibility of cosmic debris entering Earth's atmosphere. Ancient observers often witnessed phenomena that defied their understanding. Events like objects falling from the sky were particularly perplexing. These occurrences were extraterrestrial in origin, beyond Earth's atmosphere. Without scientific frameworks, explanations were limited. Ancient vocabulary and knowledge struggled to describe such events accurately. This led to various interpretations, often rooted in mythology or superstition. The systemic collapse theory offers an alternative interpretation of historical flood narratives. It posits that these events represent more than mere physical destruction. Instead, they symbolize a profound breakdown of societal systems and structures. This includes the collapse of governance, social order, and established civilization. The theory suggests a complete systemic failure, not solely environmental catastrophe. Societal disintegration describes a profound breakdown of a society's structure. This process involves the simultaneous collapse of social and moral frameworks. It also includes the deterioration of foundational structural elements within the society. Such a flood leads to widespread instability and a loss of collective cohesion. This concept describes an alternative kind of flood, not of water, but of societal disruption. It metaphorically washes away established order and existing structures. The consequence is widespread chaos, dismantling previous arrangements. This phenomenon leads to the undoing of foundational societal structures. It represents a complete breakdown of norms and organization within a community. A new interpretation of the flood narrative is proposed. This perspective fundamentally alters previous understandings of the event. It transforms the flood from a mere historical occurrence. Instead, it redefines it as a pivotal turning point in history or theology. This shift represents a significant paradigm change in scholarly analysis. A historical reset signifies a profound and transformative shift in societal structures and norms. It marks the definitive conclusion of a prevailing historical era or epoch. This transition is not gradual, but often abrupt, akin to a flood of change. The reset compels the emergence and establishment of a new, distinct era. Such events fundamentally reconfigure the course of history and human civilization. Ancient writers often employed symbolic language in their texts. This method served to embed knowledge within their writings. The primary goal was to preserve specific information. However, they did so without fully revealing its explicit details. This intentional obscurity ensured knowledge was protected yet accessible to the initiated. This method involves encoding historical events into narrative forms. The primary goal is to ensure that future generations remember these significant events. Narrative encoding facilitates the transmission of historical knowledge across time. It allows for the preservation of cultural memory and important lessons. However, this approach may not fully convey the underlying complexities of the events. The narrative structure simplifies history, potentially obscuring intricate details and nuances. Narratives often serve as a unique form of hidden record. These records are embedded within seemingly simple stories. They contain information that is protected from overt scrutiny. The transmission of this information occurs through storytelling. Thus, narratives ensure the preservation and transfer of concealed knowledge. Ancient texts often contain profound insights and historical records. A key question arises regarding their original intent and purpose. Were these texts primarily created to simply inform their contemporary readers? Or did they serve a deeper function, acting as warnings for future generations? Understanding this distinction is crucial for interpreting their true meaning and impact. Flood narratives across cultures often share common thematic elements. A prominent recurring theme is the concept of humanity reaching a state of corruption or imbalance. This moral or societal decay is frequently depicted as a precursor to catastrophic events. The destructive flood is then presented as a consequence or divine response to this human failing. Such narratives highlight a perceived causal link between human actions and natural disasters. They serve as cautionary tales, emphasizing the importance of moral conduct and societal harmony. Causal ambiguity describes situations where the precise cause of an outcome is unclear. The exact trigger for a specific event often remains undefined. It prompts inquiry into various potential factors, such as moral failures or environmental catastrophes. This uncertainty makes it difficult to attribute effects to singular, identifiable causes. Some theories propose a link between ancient flood narratives and the concept of lost knowledge. These theories suggest that ancient writers perceived certain technologies or practices as inherently dangerous. The flood story may symbolize a divine intervention to erase or reset such perilous advancements. This perspective implies a historical belief in the destructive potential of specific human innovations. Simplifying complex historical narratives can serve a protective purpose for future generations. This approach aims to safeguard them from potentially overwhelming or traumatic details of past events. The simplification process involves distilling the core lessons and warnings from historical occurrences. It ensures that crucial cautionary traces of the original event are still conveyed. The goal is to provide essential knowledge without exposing them to unnecessary distress. This method balances historical accuracy with the imperative of protecting younger audiences. Ancient traditions often interpret the flood not merely as an act of destruction. These narratives frequently emphasize a profound transformational aspect associated with the deluge. The flood is depicted as a cataclysmic event that signifies the end of an old world order. This destruction is not absolute but serves as a prerequisite for a new beginning. It marks the genesis of a new era, or the birth of a renewed world. Thus, the flood symbolizes both an ending and a powerful, transformative rebirth. The Great Flood narrative is a story of profound historical and cultural significance. Its enduring captivation stems from the deep mystery embedded within its ancient texts. This mystery continuously prompts humanity to seek answers regarding the event. The narrative's longevity highlights its impact on human civilization and belief systems. Scholarly and public interest persists in uncovering the truth behind the ancient words.